Now, 2 out of 3 people in sub-Saharan Africa lack access to electricity. To help mitigate this continental challenge, the U.S. Agency for International Development launched Power Africa in 2013. Its objective was to bring together technical and legal experts, the private sector and governments worldwide to work in partnership to increase the number of people with access to power. For more on the 6-year-old U.S. initiative, Africa 54 Managing Editor Vince Makori sat down with Andrew Herscowitz, coordinator of the USAID's Power Africa program.
I think what people have seen is that what this program has done is it's produced results. To date, we've helped over 120 power generation projects reach financial close. That's going to make 10,000 megawatts of new electricity, which is not a lot for the United States, but that's a lot in many of the countries where we're working. Already over 4,000 megawatts are operational. And in fact, one of the issues that we're facing is that we've helped create interest and deal flow for many more big power generation projects, and we have to slow down a bit. Because just because you build a power plant doesn't mean that people have access to electricity.
Yes. Yeah, actually, that's a very key question there. How do you ensure that people get this electricity when we know there's some millions of people live in remote areas where even if there's so much power in the national grid, they just can't get it?
Yeah. Well, there are a few approaches. Power Africa has its Beyond the Grid initiative, which looks at different types of technology to help people get access to electricity when they're not connected to the grid. That can be solar home systems where they can power their televisions and charge their mobile phones and take advantage of highly efficient appliances, including electric razors, even irons that run from solar power. We even ran a refrigeration competition to help people figure out how to get the most efficient type of refrigerator that can run in an off-grid context. But then we're also focusing in the on-grid space. A lot of the distribution companies, the power distribution companies, they're not making money. They're either not making money because of lack of capacity, or people aren't paying for power. Sometimes it's the person, in a city who's just not paying for power, but sometimes it's even a big company that's not paying for power. So we have to help them improve collections. In Nigeria, for example, we brought teams in to 4 of the distribution companies and helped them generate about $150 million of new revenues just by helping them improve collections and increase their efficiencies. And that's real money that can be invested in putting wires from the power generation projects to industry and to people's homes.
How do you work on the ground? Because when people hear about Power Africa, they imagine they're going to be seeing the USAID coming, putting cables across the city, across the country. What exactly are you doing?
Yeah, so that's been the biggest challenge in getting people to understand how Power Africa works. This is a partnership. It's a public-private partnership with companies, with other governments, with the World Bank and the African Development Bank. And the idea is that the private sector is going to make these investments and that the public sector really just helps bridge those gaps to help them understand, help governments understand how to manage new technologies like wind and solar, because they're intermittent. The sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow, and that has a big impact on the grid. It creates fluctuations. But the truth is those technologies, the prices are coming down more and more. We also are helping countries work with gas as well. There are tremendous gas resources all over many parts of the continent that can, that can power industry, that can power the entire continent. We've developed gas roadmaps for the continent and for Southern Africa to help governments understand how to take advantage of their gas resources as well. We take this all of the above technology approach, but ultimately what we're doing is we're looking towards the private sector to make the investments. If you look at the 120 plus power projects that have reached financial close, those are worth over $20 billion. The US government has contributed a very small amount of that $20 billion. And what we're trying to demonstrate is that limited US taxpayer dollars can be used to have a massive impact. And it's been so successful that the Trump administration is now modeling Prosper Africa and even this new Development Finance Corporation after lessons learned from Power Africa.
That was Andrew Herscowitz, coordinator of the USAID's Power Africa program.